You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, it's been an interesting morning since I last spoke. Lord revealing a lot of things. So, my neighbor is operated by them. Again, they listen on the phone. They know that he exists. They listen on here, but mostly they listen on the wiretaps and things like that and manipulate people. My neighbor has that alcohol problem. I'm sure they're trying to get him to drink extra so that he's not available for the things that he offers. And that was great. When I moved in, he said, you don't have to get a vehicle because I'll drive you places. And of course, before COVID hit hard, he drove me to the doctor. He drove me to Walmart, and it worked great. But then again, I want you to understand something. What I'm about to tell you is something that's happening, but don't over attribute something to that person without realizing first, third parties and fourth parties and fifth parties. And then also anything that is just residual of that existence of the deep state, shadow government, criminal enterprise, devils, demons, witches, and saucers, and antichrists in your life, don't attribute it to that other person or coming through that person. For example, I was supposed to go somewhere today, and Satan tried to say, well, that particular part of it is also him. And I'm like, no, I can't attribute that to him, Satan, because I knew that voice immediately was Satan. Because the deep state is Satan. You have to understand that. These cops that are doing it are not to be worshipped, because then you become a worshiper if you accept that behavior instead of just respecting, quote unquote. So he was supposed to get up early like 3 days ago and take me shopping. The first day, God said, don't even depend on him. Go shopping. I went shopping, came back. I'm like, oh, yeah, we can go tomorrow. Next day, we can go tomorrow. Because he was not available. So today, I didn't leave early, and I should have, because the one place I had to go to got too busy, and I wasn't going to wait around there. So, moving my hands again, I hit the boom. It's like way over there, so I got to figure out how to counteract that. God just showed me how to do it. So we're sitting there, and this morning he said, you want to go? I said, well, I'm going to go to this other place, and I went. It didn't work out. But then I stopped at the supermarket, and God had me pick up a few things, because God came back on, because they're breaking the communication. I said, go in there and get a few things. I went in there, got a few things. Said, see, I was telling you to also buy something else here. You couldn't, because they were blocking you, because they were eyeing you so close from those cameras and from their people. And their people being devils, demons, antichrists, witches, sorcerers, etc. of that nature. Also known as the beast. So I go in there, and God's narrating things that I have to speak about COVID-19. All right, so we're at the point now that we have a ton of people that are unbuttoned out there without masks. Okay, you do have that right in the United States again. The same thing as a church has a right to do things, but not all things are expedient. That's also biblical. And if the government recommends a mask, I would wear it. The governor is probably the best. And again, he's not good. No, not one. All his works are filthy rags. Okay, and I'm sure he can appreciate that. But he's probably the best Republican, and I'm probably left of the governor. Okay, So I'm not doing this based upon a carbon copy of me, which is what most people look for. But then again, as I've explained, nobody's a carbon copy of you. You're just lying to yourselves because Satan's got you out on some head trip. So a lot of times people we think that are like us are a lot less like us than Satan would lead us to believe. They're just manipulating you. But the governor is probably a good Republican if you want to be a conservative and still have your sanity. Okay, and he recommends the masks. I know he doesn't wear them, but he's in a different life than you. And I'm sure he wears it somewhere at some time if he needs to. Don't know if he's on any type of prophylactic. I'm on a prophylactic, but it's not a narcotic drug or, or should I say a prescription drug. I'm on vitamin C, vitamin A, elderberry, vitamin D, and a couple other natural remedies and prophylactics. Which means I am actually doing better than some other people. I'm a step higher. Now I'm wearing a mask, so I'm doing better than those people that aren't wearing a mask because they don't have enough sense. They don't have enough sense. Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, whatever. The president's living a different life. Now, Charlie Kirk might be living that different life. He might have doctors that prescribe him things. I don't know. He's a younger person also. So it is what it is. So again, don't always look at certain people's lives. I mean, Satan tries to tell me I was fooled by it because you all fooled me, but I have a work to do for God. So I can't cut and run just because you exist. I said they let you into a trap. Well, I was going in that direction anyway, but you showed up. If I go in another direction, you show up there, you're trapped there also. So it doesn't matter where I go. But that's okay because God's handling that. And we'll handle it in turn and in kind. So I'm in there and I'm seeing these people. And, if you're an investor in the stock market and you're not wearing a mask, then you're not doing your part. You see, this is the same thing as a war effort. Remember, if these same people were back in World War II, remember how they would ask people to do things? And if you didn't do it, it was frowned upon? It's the same thing. If you don't wear a mask, it's the same thing as not helping out with a war effort. Buying U.S. savings bonds, going to turn in your scrap metals, whatever it was. Back in the World War II era, they always asked people to do things, and people did them. But you're all too good to do what you're supposed to do. Now, if you were in the military during my era, I'm not going to say what's going on now. I mean, yeah, they give them big guns and all this technology, and they think they're big and bad. They haven't won a war yet. In reality, the only one that they actually were successful in was the one that I minded, and that was the anti-ISIS effort. Not only anti-minded, Jesus reminds me, knocked. I also gave suggestions, and they did heed those suggestions. Never received any credit for it, of course, as usual. So, you should understand that if you're not wearing a mask and your market goes back up because COVID begins minimizing, which has happened over the last month or two, then you're not doing your part to earn that money. Because if you wear a mask, you're actually helping the stock market because you're minimizing COVID-19. Don't listen to them say you're fumbling with your mask. Just don't fumble with your mask, number one. Number two, that type of mask is so you don't infect other people if you just have a basic face covering. Now, it does trap COVID-19 when it comes in. But that part isn't necessarily, I'm going to have to take them out here. They're attempting to speak through me while I speak. They're devils, demons, antichrist, witches, and sorcerers. They drive around in police cars. They drive around in taxi cabs. They drive around in buses. They drive around in their cars and stalk you. And they have a license to murder. And they should be cursed dead. Dead, dead, dead. Yeah, sealed. So if you're one of those people killing people with your mind and your psychological warfare, then you should be dead. And if you see people dying, then that's possibly it, but not all of it, because remember, they are always killing people. So again, you're not doing your part. You're a social leech if you're not wearing a mask, because you or somebody else will spread it because you're not wearing a mask. Because that's the mentality. It's one thing. And then they berate people before for wearing masks. So what do we see in escalation? Well, like I said, it's getting warmer. We're getting up better testing. We're getting better medication. But what's the factor? We could actually have 50% less cases today if people weren't like you. No matter how we bring it down, we could bring it down better if you would cooperate with the program. If you were in the military during my era, as I began to say, you would realize that you've been asked to do a lot of things and you did them. I don't know about these yahoos out there today complaining about their rights. They should be leading the community forward to wearing a mask because it is part of the COVID-19 war effort. Now, the President of the United States has spoken eloquently on it being a war effort. And in that war effort, you're asked to do certain things, and you should do them. It is un-American not to wear a mask. Don't listen to Brett Bart. Don't listen to Fox News or anyone else that lives that royal spoon-fed life. Candace Owens, I spoke before. She can come up in the ghetto all she likes, but she was a spoiled kid, and that's darn obvious. I told you, judges used to say, well, I came up in the ghetto, I became a judge, so you could. No, he can't. Don't you know the first thing about metaphysics, spirituality, and the Bible? Not an equal planet. Just like saying Jesus could have lived 90 years. So, understand you should wear a mask. Period. And I mean, these people without the mask, watch some of them in the store. They like stroll around. They'll cross people's paths continually, left to right. Everybody else is in there going, bye. These people are out there trying to make everybody crazy because they're wired to the idiot, also known as Satan. Now, some of them are not evil, but they need to be healed, so we'll heal them here. Dear Heavenly Father, please heal those people that don't wear a mask. Please show them the way to wear the mask. If that is your will, and I'm sure it is, because you wouldn't have me speak on this if it wasn't your will. However, whatever your will is, let that be done on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, no, I didn't steal that from a famous internet preacher. I've been doing that for 15 years or 16 years. I guess 16 years. That's the breath. Now, the prayer, I've been doing longer than that. And my first prayers were in Hebrew. So, and that was when I was a little kid, a little small boy. Probably around 5 or so, I imagine, maybe 6. At the latest 7. So they really do need to wear those masks. That's the first thing. Another thing is that we're seeing people in Walmart, the management, really being visible when I was there, wearing a mask. The people working there in the majority wearing a mask. You get a joker every once in a while that wants to pull the mask down and stick his nose out and stuff like that. And some people are claustrophobic, and I realize that. So again, if you're claustrophobic, I apologize that you can't wear a mask and all of that. But it does take a lot. Okay, so I do my shop, and I come back, and that was all cool. And I get in here, and my neighbor calls me. He finally wakes up because he was supposed to be ready this morning at 7. He's like, "You ready to go? You ready to go? You ready to go? I'm like, they're tripping in his head. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. I just got back. So I'm taking my trash out, and he's out there smoking a cigarette. You ready to go? You ready to go? I'm like, what is this? I'm like, I'll be ready in a minute. So I get all, and I had to change my mask out because I'm not going to wear the same mask. And this is the second part of what I have to tell you. I'm going to develop a better system also. I used to wear 2 of those outside gator face coverings over my mask, and I bought new gator face coverings that were thicker. I thought it was better, but not really. It's a little harder to breathe. The air's getting thicker here in Tyler, Texas in the springtime. And it's almost summer, I guess. And it's harder to breathe in it. My sinuses were clogged. It was like kind of miserable a little bit. And I'm thinking, what can I do to get on my bicycle and start using my bicycle and still wear a mask? And maybe I don't want to wear the mask till I go in, but then I got to put it on. And I could put a mask in like Ziploc baggies and have each one stored in there. And, wear the mask in, take it off, put in Ziploc baggies, decon, put the helmet back on and go, which I mean, I'll have alcohol wipes and I'll wipe my face. Now, again, Walmart doing a great job. Hand sanitizer was available today. Please only take one. Please only take one. Alcohol available. Please only take one. Please only take one. If you want to get additional ones, come another day. 2 days later, show up. If it's still there, get another one. Okay, they're not telling you can only buy one every 7 years, okay? But don't buy one every day. Because I could do that. I go there, but I bought bulk alcohol. So this is just kind of beginning that mode of storing the smaller bottles of alcohol. But I bought bulk alcohol, and I appreciate the supplier that I bought it from. And it isn't cheap. They're a legitimate supplier. I don't know what else to say. I appreciate it. I appreciate those people. I know people can't buy alcohol. People can't even think of where to buy alcohol. But we see that on Amazon now, gallons of alcohol. Going for $50, $60. That's, the price of gas went down. The price of alcohol went up. It's supply and demand. That's what I was trying to say about gasoline. I was like, okay, look, you're gas producers, you're oil producers, but the price went down because supply and demand went down also. What do you want? So you want gas price socialism? I understand people are behind these things and they have lives and all that, but that's why we got to work together and work forward of it. We could all use another stimulus check to pick up the economy. And also, I was speaking with my friend who's on disability, a very, minimal disability. And she's somebody I spoke about. And she just, if anybody deserves disability, what happened in her life, and she's not a perfect person, because when you have a life like hers, beginning at childhood, it just never most likely heals. And the government's tried to trigger her a few times, and she's fought them quite a few times also. Because they want to trigger her away from me. And she did disappear, and I'm not sure if she just lost track of me or went in another direction or the government blocked this or what it is. But I couldn't find her and she couldn't find me on the computer. And then like this year, beginning of COVID-19, I found her again. And I'm like, oh, hey. So again, we're not perfect people. None of us are. And then she always gives me, no, not always, but generally she gives me compliments about things I've done for her. But, like I've told her at the time, it's all God. I have no ability to do anything for you. I have no money to do anything for you. I have nothing. It's only what God gives me, including the thought to do it for you. Because I don't seek after God. You don't. Governor don't seek after God. He's just like the rest of us. Franklin Graham, he don't seek after God. Seeks after the stock market and political favor. But that's like the rest of us. We all have filthy rags in our lives. And that's the problem with the church. It doesn't want to acknowledge that at the level it needs to acknowledge it. Because it is the end times, and, the rubber hit the road long ago. And it's time to steer clear of what you're doing before you hit the wall. Because of this thing here, they showed me this before I even began, or actually as I was beginning to speak. Because of that, that's why. So you see scales of justice, just in case you don't know. There's judgment coming our way, and has been coming our way. So that is happening. I was being razzed by my neighbor. So I took God's like, take your time, take your time. And Satan's like, well, just tell him to go. Just tell him to go. And I'm like, no, I got to go. I tell him I go. So I get out there and I get in the car. He doesn't have a mask on this time. Got the windows down. He's smoking a cigarette in the car. So I'm like, okay, he's got that cavalier attitude. Okay, I got my mask with the double, actually with the single, but it's a thicker one thing on. The windows are down. So we're driving, and my sinuses just kept getting worse. And we only drove like a half a block. And he was just in this mode where it's the reason he's divorced. I'm not his wife, you know what I mean? And he's just in this mode where he's superior to me. But what God has told me is he will be superior to you at times because he has more money in the bank than you. He's been in this community longer than you. So he's going to will you down to look a certain way around him and then pontificate. But half of his pontification isn't even real. So he's kind of condescending. And I'm thinking, okay. And he's a nice guy generally, and he was helping me. But, it's probably the alcoholism. And then, of course, Satan gets in through that, and then things fall apart. And God's like, okay, bail. Tell him your sinuses are bad. You got enough food. You'll get another day. You apologize. And I apologized to him. I humble in it. And I said, I can't go. My sinuses are bad, and I'm not going to shop without a mask. But let me back it up a little bit here. So he said, well, let's go to Super One. I go to Super One, but I'm not going to go to Super One because you're here. I said, well, go to Super One. I got water over there I buy sometimes. Maybe I can buy that other water that I like. He's like, well, I got a prescription in Walmart. I think we'll go to Walmart because you want to go to Walmart. In the end, it was because he wanted to go to Walmart. Because no matter what I said, he wouldn't go to Super One. And I didn't make it evil or condescending or anything. I just said, well, go over there. Because God's telling me, let's reveal what's going on here. And that's what God was moving there. And, of course, moving this week. So he drops me off, and I come back home, and God says, if you never got in a car with him, you'd have to go through this again. Because right now, you're never going to ask him for a ride again. If you didn't get in a car and see how he acted, and didn't have that mask on, smoking that cigarette, you would not have known that that's how he is now. So you would have asked for another ride. But now you got in there for like 30 seconds to a minute, and you said, bye, and then now you're bye. You're not going to go with that guy anymore. He doesn't exist. He's a neighbor. You'll be nice to him. But this whole offer of giving you a ride was set up by Satan so you wouldn't buy a car before COVID-19 hit. And, of course, that's the deep state will in his head. So he has very much difficulty repelling that, but a lot of people do. And I do, too. That's obvious. Again, be careful because the deep state will is in all of our minds, and that deep state will, of course, is Satan. So that was interesting how that unfolded. But what you want to do, if, you're out there and you have a mask on, you can bring several masks, and that way you can remove your mask, bring Ziploc baggies, hopefully you can afford. And the government should be giving out masks for people that can't afford them, even if it's just a simple face covering. The government should provide, because when I see somebody, I'm like, well, how do I know that person can even afford a mask or even figure out where to buy one? Believe me, people can't figure out a lot of things. The deep state's in their head confusing them, blinding their mind lest they see anything. Let be the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ. So, again, we might want to encourage mask wearing by distributing masks. That might work. Because what they're doing is they're hindering your efforts to minimize the spread of COVID-19. They really are. And they are actually, if you're in a store and you're one of two people not wearing a mask, you and that other person are leeching off the back of the people that wear the mask. Because you're going to stay healthy because they took the effort to wear the mask. Because one of those people or 10 of those people could be COVID-19 positive. my friend, she calls these type of people that don't wear the mask and get in your way and all that. She calls them the super spreaders. So you should understand, for those of you that aren't wearing masks and think it's royal and American not to wear it, you're un-American, and everybody else considers you a super spreader. And the reason that we have trouble with COVID-19. And it's the truth. And the truth will set you free if you allow it to be. So another system is you layer your face covering. So you could have some gaiters over top of your mask. Like I have a specific mask. It's got a breathing valve in it. And I put over top of that these gaiters. And if you have successive layers, you can strip those layers off. When you walk out of a store, I would hold my breath while I was doing it and carefully lift it up, fold it, and put it in a bag. And then you have a new gaiter on the outside. Because that outer piece is going to probably catch a certain level of the COVID-19. So my face mask where I breathe generally is not exposed. There are parts of the mask are just the top edges. But my face, and you see that in the photos, my face mask where the filter generally is where I breathe is not exposed to anybody direct breath or any direct air. It has to go through those gaiters first. Because I know where I'm breathing. I can feel where the mask is collapsed inside, tight up against me, and then where the breathing chamber is. So again, there's, everybody's sitting there trying to say, well, you're fumbling with your mask, you could get COVID-19. They're actually cursing you to it. They're actually willing you and cursing you to it. Right now, because I received the blip in Walmart, people that are angry at you wearing a mask are cursing you to contract COVID-19 with that mask. They want it. They want COVID-19 on your mask. They want you to touch your mask and touch your face. And this is who they are. They've got no good to give. But don't be violent. Let God do what God needs to do when God needs to do it. And that includes acts of God's violence, not acts of your violence. Remember, one thing you should understand about these people that are in the deep state, shadow government, criminal enterprise, and their private sector cronies, and that's federal, state, and local governments and their private sector cronies, is that they've committed the sin unto death. You're not even supposed to heal them. You're not supposed to pray for them. That's what the Bible tells you. Because what's happening is they're in a respected position, but yet they're committing the sin unto death. So you're not even supposed to respect them at that point. And I'm not telling you to wholesale hate police officers. I never told you that. But yet, you should understand that they're not protecting you at that level. Therefore, you have to take spiritual guidance from the Bible on what to do in those particular circumstances. Give way to God to take care of the issue. And I never said that terrorism is coming from God, but if God judges you and finds you wanting, then terrorism will find you. And it'll be part of that judgment. It'll be a plague, quote unquote. So again, I've got some exhalation discs that I ordered, and I thank the entity I purchased those from. I'm going to wash them off with alcohol today and assemble some new masks and put those in plastic bags and brainstorm whether I want to ride my bicycle and start moving as I did before COVID-19. That probably wouldn't be before June 1st. That was the date that God had set. But if God removes the seal on my apartment, there's a spiritual seal on my door. It's my mezuzahs, or God's mezuzahs on my door. I look at it a certain way, and it denotes Passover, which means we're still in a modified Passover. So when that is lifted, I'll know to go out. So it could be before or after. So we are in a time that we're seeing some things reappear, such as alcohol and hand sanitizer. Now, I haven't gone further than the Walmart right here. So I don't know what the bigger Walmarts have. I have to go look. But here's the thing. The deep state was eyeing me, and they really messed around my purchase of a humidifier. And God couldn't get through to me. God said, I was trying to tell you, don't say anything. Walk out your door, walk to the Walmart over here, and buy one of those humidifiers. And then the system will let you use it very swiftly. Because the system requires me to stay alive. And the people that do this do murder people using spycraft, which would include vials of COVID-19 being put on items, especially a humidifier is a kind of a weird thing to have to purchase and have come through the mail knowing that these people exist. But I do my best. I clean it well. I ran it quite a bit, and I'm going to let it sit another day, and it should be fine. But again, God said, I've been trying to get through. You really didn't have to rush to buy a humidifier because you have that pressure cooker over there. And I was trying to tell you, just fill it up with water and put it on the timer. And then every time you wake up in the middle of the night or every time you need the humidity up, just fill that pot up. Because I was cooking on the stove, but you can't, at nighttime, you can't put that on for 30 minutes or an hour because it doesn't have that setting. And then the pan's, it's going to be all hot and empty and all that. And that's not going to work. It's actually going to dry the place out. So guys, as I was trying to tell you, and last night God got through. So again, God's showing me what I'm doing to repel the deep state after they were revealed is actually working. Because now I have an extra humidifier. I have my pressure cooker. And, it's not normal. The air conditioner I have here is probably dirty. I cleaned the filters, but it's probably been so long that it was cleaned that the whole thing is dirty. And it's high on the wall, so I can't grab a hose and just rinse it off. I don't have a catch thing for it, or I would do that and I would be able to clean it. And I'm really not into disassembling it. So that's that. So I think that's what it is. As long as I keep it very humid in here, like 80% humid, or 75 to 80%, I think I do well enough in dealing with that. And I haven't been on all my allergy medication. I'm going to go on that now here. But I think if I was in a cleaner apartment, I wouldn't have this problem. There's just no way to get around an air conditioner in the middle of, or the end of May, beginning of June in Tyler, Texas. I mean, I don't use it all that much, but if it gets too hot, then you have your dust mites and your mold that starts creeping up. So that's really a malady of the poor at times, or people that even have money and can't get to a clean environment. That allergens are a lot of times triggered by being in a dirty inside environment. And I don't mean dirty. I just mean it's not as clean as it should be. Like if I were to take a hose and rinse my air conditioner unit, it'd be fine. And they do that at Wood Spring Suites. But I probably won't be staying there again anytime soon. COVID-19's here, and they have an indoor, a common entrance, and I'm not going to do that. And I don't think you should either if you can avoid it. Again, I don't hate my neighbor. I pray for my neighbor, but he's got a lot of things going on right now. I don't know if he secretly wanted me not to ask him for a ride, but he keeps offering a ride. So that's kind of a weird thing. But, God had to let me see it, and God let me see it, and I moved along. I won't ask him for a ride ever again. But eventually he'll ask me, you need a ride? And Jesus knocking there. And of course, Jesus wants me to remind you that Satan in his head, and that's Satan being the deep state. My headphone keeps hitting the thing. My pop filter arm, it keeps hitting the headphone arm and clinks. So again, the nation did well enough. We've never had these problems before, and we weren't ready for it. And we repelled it, but a lot of people are shooting that in the foot by telling people not to protect themselves or not to protect their neighbor. Because a lot of time the mask that people wear protects their neighbors more than them. But if everybody participates, it's not socialism. I mean, is it socialism to fight the war in World War II? If everybody participates, we win the war. It's just the way it works. But they cursed me, boy, and that is still tender over there. So again, I was wounded yesterday. The deep state wounded me with their cursing evil eyes, and God will return in kind. So again, don't expect anybody to help you in the way that you need to be helped to have a good life. Even if you're having a good life, you're just lucky. Because in a second, if somebody in these secret societies decides you should be murdered and distorted and tortured and psychologically altered, they'll do it. They are still trying to make me a gay man. That's their goal. It's been their goal their whole life. They're the most twisted people that have ever found their way in government. That includes an FBI psychologist that lies to you. That includes an FBI psychologist that lies to you. But he'll be like the Third Reich. He will enforce certain laws and will work some real cases. And then he gets to murder everyone else. She gets to murder everyone else. Well, praise God in all that you do. Praise God.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Radio Free Larry.